Okay, everybody. We're good. If anybody needs to see yourself.
No, we
We
just
can look here.
need to know if somebody else.
Okay, let's
is,
call the meeting to order at 5:58.
How do you know? if
Yeah.
somebody's in?
Well,
I can
he
him
would
right
see
down
it there.
Yeah, we can see him down here. Any adjustments to the agenda? I tried to keep it pretty clean, but I think that the document covers just about everything we want to talk about. Any changes to September minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from the
Andy moves
September
to
meeting.
approve.
Second.
Second by David, all in favor?
I'm abstaining from it since I wasn't here.
So you abstained?
Well, we haven't voted yet, have we?
Yeah, we just did. You missed
Oh.
it, Andy.
Okay, all right. Where was I? Okay, good.
Myself though.
Yeah.
I guess we should, I guess we
Bring
should,
the motion, you automatically vote for it.
I guess we should.
Oh, yeah,
It sounds like maybe we have public coming, so we'll give a minute here for public
Hi.
comment.
Oh, hey, how are you? Welcome back.
Sorry, I'm late again.
No, that's okay. No, actually, you're not late. We actually started a little bit early.
That makes me feel better.
Because it just turned 6 o'clock and you sat
Perfect.
down just as 6. Do you have any comments? We're on the public comment section.
Sorry, I'm late. Go with that.
Okay, cool. So I guess the question I have for you, Andy, is, I mean, I put this draft.
Yeah.
Recommendations together.
Yep.
Do you wanna start with the permitting section? Only because, you said, why don't you give us a little bit of what you're thinking from the PC?
Okay, so from the PC standpoint, we've been looking at a handful of items we think we need to change from our comprehensive update. I've met with the DRB. You have 3 or 4 items that I think are gonna be forwarded to the,
There are 5, including 2 items that you've already worked on.
right, exactly. So, and they're all, everything we've looked at so far, I've considered kind of administrative, non-controversial, because you never know, any one item may take a life of its own, but, so I guess my hope is if this subcommittee wants to make recommendations to the planning commission to make any changes in the regulations, let's figure out what we want to do, because I think our time frame is that, by the end of the year, I think we're going to be in good shape to have all of our proposed revisions finalized, so we can start going into the public hearing process, that sort of thing. So having said that, and you're gonna have to go through, I guess, more specifically what you got in mind. Based on, you and I talking, it seems, you don't seem like at this point, that this subcommittee wants to recommend any major changes to the way the town enforces shoreline protection. I don't think we're there yet. I think we're looking at, again, clarifications and cross-references to other permits that are required. And if that's the type of thing, I think that falls right in line with the other changes we're looking at. And I'd like to get that moved forward to the planning commission, sooner rather than later, so.
So you'd like comments by, when would you like recommendations?
Well, our next meeting is next week. I don't think we'll be quite ready. DRB, and I talked to Diana today.
yeah.
She's thinking at your next meeting, you're probably gonna finalize.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means we're looking at the November meeting.
Okay.
And we've got some items on our agenda next week that go along with this as well. So I think if we were to shoot for the November meeting,
So if we get.
and
some
even if it
comments-
went to December, I mean, I don't think that's the end of the world.
So that would work. So if we look at some things on this meeting in November.
Yeah.
And then you have your meeting the next day.
Whatever, yeah.
I mean, we'll see where it goes, but
Sure.
that would be an ideal
Yeah.
situation.
Is there a way we can get a copy of what's already being proposed?
For the, well, yes, we'll put out a summary. I mean, we're still,
Well, I'm just thinking so we don't duplicate the effort. If it's something that's already covered, then we can move past that.
yeah, we've had that kind of coordination between the PC and the DRB.
Okay. Good.
And, yeah, I mean, David and I, to the extent we're going to, talk about proposed changes between David and I, we can say whether or not we're already working on it, so.
Okay.
Okay, good.
That's,
So, maybe I'll just start with kind of the first part and then we can move, if everybody's in agreement, we move to the permitting section, just so we can kind of get that in motion.
Mhm.
For a November, hopefully a November
Yep.
event, and worst case is a December event.
yeah, just one more general comment, the regulation updates, that were finally put into place last December. One of the major things we wanted to accomplish was to cross-reference between our regulations and the state regulations. There was virtually no cross-references before that. So I think we did a pretty good job. And, but I have also seen that there's probably other places where we could maybe clarify a little more. I think the one that really stood out to me was shoreline stabilization. We
Right.
probably need some more clarification or more references there. But I just want to say, in general, I think we've done a pretty good job of if people look at our regulations, we kind of pointed out where a state permit may be required, so.
So I'm curious, Andy, on specific to the shoreline, restoration. Is the PC gonna talk to the attorney just to, cause how it's stated makes it sound like it's a town, as it's stated, it sounds like the town is saying you must follow these regulations.
Yeah.
And will enforce them. I'm just saying that's the flavor it gets.
You pointed that, that wasn't the intent at the time, but I can understand how it could be read that way.
And maybe you do, or maybe you don't, but I don't think that was your intent.
No, our intent was if the state has jurisdiction, then let's let the state do the enforcement. That was our intent.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so just to kind of get this thing kind of kicked off, I mean, we had 2 outreach events. We've had additional public comments. I'm gonna make this as big as we can so everybody can see it. Some of this, I mean, I heard everybody else should fill in, if they think if I put something on here that doesn't make sense, or you want to add more things, but, one thing I got is there are people who want to apply best management practices, but aren't sure how to even do that.
Mhm.
And that even, DEC has about 6 to 8 best management practices on their site that you can apply. I've actually applied like 3 of them now, just because I thought it'd be kind of cool. But, what can you actually do to your properties from a best management practice? The big one, I think, is understanding and navigating the shoreland permitting process related to town, DEC shoreland protection, DEC wetlands, Army Corps of Engineers, and special flood hazard area.
Yep.
And that's really, Andy, where I step back. It's a big event. I mean, it really is a big event as a landowner to sit here and say, okay, when do I go to shoreline protection? When do I go to wetlands?
Mhm.
I do think Shoreland is pretty good about directing you to wetlands.
Mhm.
I'm not 100% sure it goes the other way, but there definitely is working there.
Mhm.
The Army Corps is kind of interesting. So I've dealt with everybody up here. The Army Corps is almost kind of independent.
Mhm.
I mean, it is a federal versus a state event. They will talk to and communicate with shoreline and wetlands, but they kind of have their own, they're kind of their own thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes people think if you go to the Army Corps of Engineers and they give you a thumbs up, you're good with shoreline and wetlands.
Absolutely.
No, you're not.
But they do think that.
People are very confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one that still intrigues me,
Can you stop? Should we
No.
talk about content? or should
I
we-
want to talk about, this is like
I mean, I don't want to derail
line
you.
by line.
Yeah.
And let's just crank through this.
Is there a way to describe what the role of the Army Corps of Engineers is? Right? I mean, if you think about SPA, there's no role for Army Corps of Engineers in SPA.
No,
But how does
Say
the
that
Army
again,
Corps?
SP,
Shoreline Protection Act. Yeah.
Right, which is state, that's what created that's what the
well, they have a section on shoreline protection They have a section on wetlands. They
What's
have
their legal
rules.
jurisdiction?
What's that? What was it?
What did you ask?
But my question is, what is the legal jurisdiction of the US Army?
I know the
Navigable
answer to
waters.
that. Less than 98.5.
Yeah.
That's the elevation here, but
Right.
in general, they have jurisdiction over navigable waters.
Got it.
Yeah,
But they do have wetlands clauses.
yeah.
And that's where there's a little bit of confusion.
Like when there's wetlands lower than 95?
98.
98.5.
Sorry.
So anything lower than 98.5. Where I'm looking for your reaction is Army Corps.
Yeah.
Anything greater than 95.5 is shoreline protection.
98.5, right?
No, 95.5, mean water line.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
you don't have to agree with me.
No, I don't know off the top. I was just thinking it was 98. but
You
that's
sounded
okay.
very like.
No.
90, so mean water line is 95.5.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I remember I sent out
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the thing.
Oh, that was
And-
great, yeah.
And shoreline protection starts at mean water line, which is 95.5.
Yeah.
Yep.
US Army Corps of Engineers starts at 98.5.
That's, yeah, right.
But I would say substantially, they're more interested in where there's water.
So
Yeah.
when you said they have stuff on wetlands, that's below 98?
That's a good question. I mean, they do define wetlands, they do define shoreline.
Yeah.
They do have terminology for wetlands, shoreline restoration. I mean, I had a mooring put in
Mhm.
and I had to go to them.
Really?
And they're a little interesting because they have a general permit
Mhm.
that I think is issued by the state. So it's the federal government going to the state to get a general permit.
Okay.
And there's a lot of self-reporting, like
Okay.
you just fill out a form and like you file it
Yeah.
and you're good. But there are some things that they are very strict about.
Well, that's worth looking into. I mean, I've never been involved in any permit where we had to go to the Corps of Engineers. I'm sure there have been situations in town. I had a mooring put in a few years ago and the guy just came and put it in. And he's a guy that does it all the time, so I would assume that if he thought
My
I
neighbor
needed
had a
it.
mooring put in and they just called the marina.
Yeah,
Marina just came by
Yeah.
and pumped it in. I didn't even.
Well, but isn't that the whole issue of all of this? It's like, who enforces anything? I mean, literally, how, we can say all we want, but, most, you reached out, Tom, but not many people are doing that.
no,
I mean, I put in an eco mooring, so there's
Oh.
no chain dragging on the
Right.
ground and all that kind of stuff. And that's what they want you to do.
Yes.
interesting. Well, somebody, I think, I certainly don't have the answers as to exactly what the Corps of Engineers jurisdiction is here in Lake Champlain, but I think we need to clarify that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't mean
Seawalls
to
is.
derail us, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah,
Seawalls is big for them. So if you
Okay.
put a seawall below 98.5, they're all over.
98,
it.
Yeah,
They're all
but I
over.
think that like Island Excavating won't do that.
yeah.
Normally, contractors won't do it without a permit, you're right. They shouldn't,
Well,
they shouldn't.
They should.
but isn't that a case of where maybe the Corps of Engineers would allow a seawall, but the state of Vermont would not?
Right.
Okay,
So that happened to my neighbor.
yeah,
So they put in a seawall before the SPA
yeah,
was put into
Yeah.
effect. And
Yeah.
today they wouldn't be allowed.
right, yeah, my old place had a seawall.
Yeah.
But that was built in, I don't know, 1988 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we need to do a little more research on that piece of it.
Sorry, you all confused now?
No, I'm processing it and thinking I'm just trying to get a grasp of what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to explain it for people, is the goal of the committee to explain this process for people? Is it to simplify it? Because, you kind of mentioned shoreline works really well with wetland, but not necessarily in reverse, right? And then there's these other agencies. Are we looking to do like, okay, here, if you're looking to do something, here's a flow chart. Start here, go here,
Mhm.
go here, right? Kind of like the order of who you would talk to first. Is that what you're looking to do, or?
I mean, I'll give you my opinion on that. I think my opinion now is DEC has an incredible resource. They have training on just about everything. They have training on shoreline protection, they have training on wetlands, they have training on enforcement. They have a pamphlet.
Mhm.
All right, they have a pamphlet, they've got video education, they've got shoreline. And I think it's really cool, and what I realized is DEC has everything you need. But they're not very good. I'll say this wrong. They're a state agency, they did their job, but it wasn't their job to market it and promote it to people. And I've tried the flow chart many, many times, and I haven't gotten there. I've tried,
So
trust me,
You tried to make one or you?
I've tried to make the flow chart you want, and
Too many variables.
there's too many variables, like, okay, it's below 98.5, but it's greater than 95.5. It's less than 100 feet.
Crazy.
It's very, very difficult.
So, and that's why we wanted to go down the path of the ambassador program,
Yeah,
right? To what degree can we actually provide volunteer support
And-
to folks?
right. And it's all education. What you're talking about is education. So back from the town standpoint, our regulations, I don't think we should attempt to try to explain to people how to navigate through the system. Not in our regulations. I think
No.
that's what, again, it's public
Right.
education. It's the ambassador.
The ambassador program or
Program, yeah.
website.
Yeah, or website, exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my opinion is we should, in our regulations, if there's something that may require a state or a federal permit, we should try to point that out.
Right.
So at least it's in there. But, I mean, I think that as a town, I think that's all we can do.
And that was one of the recommendations. I don't
Yeah.
want to jump too far ahead,
Yeah.
but one of the
Right.
recommendations is you reference shoreline protection.
Mhm.
But there's also wetlands that should be referenced in an Army Corps and the special flood hazard.
And I think you'll find that that's all referenced in the appropriate places in the regulations.
But the Army Corps is not.
It is. It's referenced at least once. I meant to bring my regulations with me. It is referenced.
Okay, so just, I mean, it is what it is, Andy. In the shoreline restoration, Army Corps could take a place.
Right, yeah, and it's
Um,
not referenced there. You're talking about stabilization.
Shoreline stabilization,
Yeah,
because
right.
it.
Yeah.
It's most likely at least pretty close to the 98.5.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's above, maybe. it's
Yeah,
below.
I definitely think we need to clarify that section.
And then the other one, and maybe Andy, you have some comments on this, is the special flood hazard area, which is below 102. So there's another,
As of right now, that
As
may
of right now.
change when we get the updated.
it should be going up, don't you think?
Last thing it was going up, up or down?
Well, I,
Yeah.
that was actually a bad joke,
Yeah, okay.
because there's so much flooding going on.
Yeah,
I can only see it going up.
yeah.
Um,
Last I heard, it was maybe 2 or 3 tenths that they were looking at.
Yeah.
Not
But-
nothing major.
But virtually all shoreline is below 102.
In town.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Virtually all. And as I read it, I mean, I'm using an example. You can't put any fill in the special flood hazard area unless you go to the DRB.
Mhm.
And I don't think a lot of people have gone to the DRB and filled in below 102.
They
Yeah,
just do
they
it.
just do it.
And I have to tell you, because I've tried this also. You know, there's a site for FEMA that says plug in your address and they'll give you a map.
Mhm.
Well, the map doesn't exist on the FEMA site. There's a paper map.
yeah,
that if
I
you
know.
Google and Google and Google, you find it, but it's black and white and you really
And it
can't
goes back to
tell.
1982.
And, and then, I mean, I've done a pretty good, it's taken a ton of work to find that though.
Mhm.
So how's just a resident?
Yeah, how do you expect them
Yeah.
to?
Yeah.
Have the
So the
fortitude.
Army Corps of Engineers is in the bylaws in section 10.3.
Related to,
Application, if the applicant is seeking for a permit to alter or relocate a water course. Copies of the application shall be submitted to adjacent communities.
But that's in the flood hazard section of yeah.
Uh,
I thought there was a reference to the Corps of Engineers someplace else.
Yeah, I
but
think-
Maybe not.
that's the only one that's searching.
Yeah,
Yeah. Maybe it's spelled. wrong.
It might, you know, where it might have been in the, which I think you recommended, we add back in the structures, what, the shoreline structures, I forget what exactly what it is. I think
A
there
lake
might-
access structure.
lake access structures. I think there might have been a reference to the Corps of Engineers in that one.
When the old one.
Yeah,
So, I mean, how that's referenced, I mean, maybe we can spend more time if the PC feels that it should be well-defined, or the PC really needs to look at, you know, how do you tie shoreline protection, wetlands,
Yeah.
Army Corps and special flood hazard?
yeah. I think we should come out of here as specific as possible. When we
Okay.
go to PC.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
The other one that came, because in every meeting this came up, and like I said, every meeting I've been at with Misha's the permitting person.
Mhm.
And permitting is great, but everybody wants to talk about, I saw my neighbor doing this. Every meeting I've been at with Misha, he is the number one speaker and he does his best, but he is not an enforcement person. He talks about permitting and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. But there is a lot of frustration with I think my neighbor's doing something. How do I file a complaint? I don't want them to know who I am. I don't care if they know who I am. I want it to be anonymous. I don't want it to be anonymous. I wasn't anonymous and now my neighbor hates me. I mean, we heard,
Anonymous for the town.
we heard that a lot. I know you guys have gone through that twice now.
Mhm.
More than
I'm
twice.
not sure we're done with it, but I guess.
Oh, I'm sure we are.
But from
Speaking for
a,
myself, yeah.
from a shoreland perspective, I'm actually, personally, I'm okay now with, you know, Misha has a anonymous reporting site. You can go, you don't have to tell them who you are. Some people do, and then it now becomes open, whatever. You don't have to. Don't give me your name, don't give me your phone number. Boom, you
And
can
don't
do
email
it.
him.
Don't email them.
Yeah.
The only issue there is you really don't know until something happens.
Mhm. Yeah,
Whether they show up.
Right. But I actually think they're very good about showing up.
Yeah.
I think they
you're
are,
right.
but an individual knows nothing until, oh, maybe something is happening.
Mhm.
Right, they don't get back to people.
But from a shoreline perspective, we have a anonymous reporting event. The subcommittee, the ambassador, if all they do is mention that, cool.
Mhm.
That it's available and we
Yeah,
can present on
sure.
it. But Andy, I'm done with the town trying
Oh, yeah,
to do shoreline.
yeah,
I'm-
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm done with it.
yeah, I agree.
It sounds like I'm defeated and I'm not. I'm like, DEC has all the resources shoreland needs.
Yeah, I'm not saying that down the road, won't come up with something within this subcommittee that we feel strongly that maybe we should update our regulations and take more of a role. I think that would be a pretty big deal, and that should be a standalone item as far as updating the regulations. You know, again, what we're doing right now is mostly what I consider cosmetic, clarification type stuff. And what we're proposing right now falls in with that. You know, if down the road, we feel strongly that the town should take a bigger role, I think that should be handled separately.
That's interesting, Andy. What would be the path for that?
Well, somebody could go to the planning commission and say, you know, could you look at this? You could go the petition route, like on the airstrips a couple of years ago. I mean, there's various ways to do it. You know, I would say the biggest thing would be, you know, enough of public outcry to do something more.
I've mentioned two areas
Yeah.
that I think we could put a recommendation together, but I don't think it'll go anywhere, but I still wouldn't mind putting the recommendation in.
Yeah.
So my question is, does anybody want anything else here?
Well,
So I think in answer to your question, you know, what do we want to try to do here? It's for us to define, right? So, maybe the answer is a website and an ambassador program. You know, and basically just trying to help make the process less onerous.
Yeah.
For folks.
yeah. if
Maybe
we-
there's something about reaching out to
Yeah.
new homeowners too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if we could come up with a website that would help people navigate the state permitting system. That would be a big help.
So that's on my to-do list, and why don't we put that on the agenda for next month?
Well, it actually is in here.
Oh, good.
So
So I meant, I'll actually make a proposal that we can review for next month. Yeah,
okay, I think it's here, but okay.
okay.
I did pick this up. That people. And this is a tough one.
Yeah.
They'd like to go,
Oh,
they'd like
of
the
course they
ZA,
would, yeah.
or they'd like Corinne to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah, of
if
course
you
they would.
won't.
We would all like to
Yeah.
have one-stop shopping, but
Yeah.
that's.
That's
unfortunate.
another advantage of the ambassador program.
Yep,
Because then, Danielle would be able to say, here's a group of people you can talk to, here's a list.
yep. Perfect.
So I'll do this as just a quick introduction, because
Yeah.
in the draft recommendations, there's the public education. I'll stop at permitting, but DEC has shoreland, wetland permitting, shoreline lake-wise. They have an enforcement event. There's also training in best management practices. There's training for realtors, there's training for contractors and AE firms. To the degree the town can, strongly recommend that, a contractor takes a natural shoreline erosion controls certificate. I think that'd be amazing, but, I think that's something we can work on.
Mhm.
A website. And I've put, at the back, I've put a ton of references
Yeah.
for that. There's a pamphlet, there's best management, there's Lakewise. Whether it's links on a website, or we develop the website to where the website
If it's
itself
a-
is a little
If
more.
it's a physical pamphlet, can we get just a bunch of them that we can keep downstairs here that?
I can give Corinne the link and she'd be responsible for.
Okay, I was thinking of hard copies, a lot of people like to walk off. with-
According to Corinne, she said nobody takes hard copies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where was I? So basically, a website. There's some organization up here. My reference cost for a website these days is $20K. I'm guessing if all you did was put links up there, Corinne or somebody could probably do that for $0.
Mhm.
But if you want something that
You're nodding your
navigates
head, are you
people.
with websites?
No, but I can find a
Oh,
high school
okay.
kid that can do it in like
But-
2.2 seconds.
Right, but if you want something
People are
that.
good with it.
For a lot less
feels
than
good
20,000.
Yeah.
And does more than just having information there, that's at least a $20K event.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if it goes in the budget or who pays for that, but anyway, I'm almost thinking I like doing this is, like weekly blast on, like I did that 95.5, and then I wanted to do a best management practice on this, and a hey this, and a hey that, just like once a week, once a month type sort of.
I would go with once a month. I mean, if it's there every week, people are gonna.
Another
Sorry.
shoreland.
Yeah, right. But I think once a month would be appropriate.
And then to quote unquote manage all this, the ambassador program.
Mhm.
And then we can put that on the agenda next time. And then permitting. And I'll jump to the back, but then we'll jump back to permitting. And then I also
Yeah,
do have
that's fine.
projects.
Yeah.
Which projects are bigger than everything up there.
Mhm. Yeah.
To get a project moving is a lot of work. So going to permitting. I'm seeing, the only thing we can really do is recommend something to the planning commission from a permitting
Yep.
standpoint.
Yep.
And then they'll table it at their meetings. In terms of bylaw changes.
Well, again, I'd like to see specific recommendations come to the planning commission. So you take your first item.
Yep.
Let's figure out which specific sections need which specific references. And again, I think you'll find that a lot of them are already there. But we kind of need to go through sections one by one. Do we want to start doing that? Can you call up our bylaws? It's on the town website.
Yeah, I have them.
Yeah, no, that's what we want to just go through each one of these and get them done.
So let's do
Is that
that.
something, I do, is that something we need to do as a group though?
Or the two of us, maybe two of us get
Yeah, I
together.
think that would.
Yeah, that would probably be more effective.
Yeah,
So do I
And
have,
I don't mind being one of those two people just
And-
because of my knowledge of the bylaws, but it could be you two. I mean, it doesn't matter. We just don't want it to be three because when you're
Right, then
talking
you have
about
to
a
call me.
quorum and all that, so.
You should do it at full time.
so you?
Yeah, definitely you should be
Okay,
involved.
then it's you. and me.
You, okay, fine, let's schedule a
Can't be
time.
involved in everything. Okay,
No,
so,
I mean, it's probably gonna take a couple of hours or so, I think,
Yeah.
to go through, but yeah, I'll set aside some time to
Yeah,
work
we can
with
do
you
it.
on that.
with coffee at which
Yeah,
McCullough.
wherever, yeah, or over a beer might work better.
Those are dangerous.
Yeah,
I've
I
done
know.
those. And the language you put in.
Yeah.
is-
Yeah, let's do
You
it.
look at
over-
it later, like,
Let's do it over coffee.
must have been drinking or something, but
Yeah, let's figure out a time when we can
Okay.
get together.
that works good.
Yep.
I think this goes along with how you want to add lake access structures. maybe you're already-
Why do you think it should be added? We deleted it because we thought Shoreland Protection Act kind of superseded everything that was there. For example, boat ramps were in there. You're not gonna get the state to approve a impervious boat ramp.
The reason I put it in there, because I thought you thought it was a mistake that it was removed.
No, no, no,
Okay, I
it was
thought it was a-
intentionally removed.
It was intentional. I thought you said unintentionally.
Oh, no, it was intentionally removed.
Well, let's go around the table. Lake access structure.
Well, again, we should look at what was in there before we just decide whether we wanna put it back in.
I
And
don't know how to do that.
I do, I still have the old version.
Yeah,
But I don't have it with me.
So tell me what a lake access structure is.
It was docks, yeah, boat ramps, stairs,
See, all that's covered by shoreline.
right, that's why we deleted the section. And like I said, the big thing was, boat ramps, which it was gonna be totally prohibited unless you did the, invisible boat ramp like I did. I got that by the state, but. But no, sorry, if somebody wants to put in a concrete boat ramp where there was not one before, no way. Cause it's more than a.
What was invisible?
You didn't tell anybody.
No, my shoreline is loose rocks.
Yeah.
Probably 3 foot deep over bedrock.
Okay,
And I have a nice slope from my driveway right out into the lake,
Mhm.
but those rocks are so loose, you can't get any traction, so you try to come back out and the truck would just sink down,
Yeah.
so. Got a contractor to come in. He removed the rocks, side cast the rocks, excavated down to ledge. Set, probably 8 or 10 large 2 to 3 foot stones. Filled in between those with 6-inch blast rock. And then respread the existing stones over the top, so you can't tell it's there, and it works great.
wow. And did you need a permit for that?
Nope, and I went through the state, I tried all kinds of things, I said, hey. My neighbor and I wanna do this together, you guys allow a 6-foot path, can we each do a 6-foot side? No. Actually, it was Bob Ayers that shot that idea down.
Okay.
But no, I dealt with this, I have all the documentation, end of the day, he said, no, and I sent sketches, and they said, no, you don't need a permit for this.
Interesting. I want to talk to you later. About
Yeah,
that.
sure,
Yeah, when we get together.
Yeah.
That's
of
interesting.
course, yeah.
So here's the section right here.
Oh, you've got the old one? Yeah.
Do you have this?
No.
That looks too skinny. Yeah, but do you have the HDMI? Okay. I'm
So
not,
what's in there, David, for subsections? Like I said, I know there's boat ramps,
So it starts off by talking about all of the different feet requirements, like 98 feet, 102.
Did that have a reference to the Corps of Engineers?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Lake access structures include stairways, pedestrian ramps, boat launches, docks. Constructed to gain access to the lake shore. And then the subsets. One set of stairs or one pedestrian ramp. meeting required setbacks.
Yeah.
Maximum width of 4 feet, no roofs, permanent shelters, landings or turnarounds kept at a minimum. Top landings shall not exceed 144 square feet.
See, most of that is covered by the Shoreland Protection Act, so that's why we got rid of it.
Permanent
There's a
horizontal
set lake
surface.
access structures in the special flood hazard section.
Yeah, that's probably, it just never got deleted from there, probably should have, but
Or
I don't know, maybe that's still appropriate there.
And you might not be able to, because I thought that all that language was from the state.
Well, it's, I don't know where it originated, but it's been reviewed by the Regional Planning Commission multiple times to make sure we conform to the FEMA regulations.
I think where the previous regulations were more conservative with the state was with the top landing. And the mid landings are more conservative than what the SPA.
Yeah, because the 4 foot versus the 6 foot. It's,
144 square feet.
yeah, but it's 100 square feet in the SBA, right? That's the maximum. Yeah,
Is it? I think the
Yeah, I know
problem
it's
with the
100.
SPA is that, is the decking exclusion.
well, that's different, but
Yeah.
impervious surface within the first 100 feet, maximum of 100 square feet,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure of that. And so this was 144,
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
But this isn't impervious. This is.
Okay, yeah.
This is across. That's where
Yeah.
the gap is,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
right? Is
Yeah.
that if somebody builds a deck, then they can be larger.
Yep.
So I think that how this gets implemented in actuality is like on the Albrecht tongue.
Mhm.
Right? If you kayak up the west side of the Albrecht tongue, you'll see a lot of the houses there have much larger lake access
Mhm.
structures, which we don't have in North Hero because we had this.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, and I just don't know, is
Yeah.
is the section on lake access structures still in the bylaws?
No.
You
No,
just
it's
reference?
Yeah.
So I
It's
what I'm showing
gone.
you
I
here
think
is
it should
all-
stay
is all-
gone.
Is all
Yeah.
striped out.
What do you think?
Wow.
No, I'm serious,
Yeah.
because if you're I'm gonna do lake access stuff, and
Well,
at least in the bylaws, we're trying to help the residents
yeah,
look at some
We-
things.
it's like, yeah, and we had the Regional Planning Commission look at it. They said, structures are structures. You cover structures other places in your bylaws. And, you've got the Shoreland Protection Act that really is restricted for the first 100 feet, so you don't need that section.
I mean, I guess my question is shoreline restoration. You substantially just reference shoreline protection, which is great.
Yep,
Don't you want the same thing for lake access structures?
why?
And I'll just give you the alternate. Why not just take shoreline restoration out of the bylaws? And
You're talking about it's called shoreline stabilization.
shoreline stable, shoreline stabilization. Why not just eliminate it? from
We
the
did at
bylaw?
one point, but, I can't remember.
That's
why I
my
got that.
argument
Yeah.
is, if you're gonna have shoreline stabilization in there, and then the statement is, hey, let's just go to the state.
That's what we had done at one point.
And I think I think that helps
Yeah,
the residents. If you're gonna do that, then you should put lake access structures in there, go to the state, so on and so forth, or
well, we could, yeah.
just rip everything out.
No, I don't have a problem, and this is me personally, if we wanted to put a reference to shoreline structures in reference to state.
Mhm.
Or in the Corps of Engineers could have some input on that too. I don't have, but I don't want to see the town put that section back in.
Right, no, I agree that you don't
Okay.
want the lake, I'm in agreement that you don't want the lake access by the town.
Right, okay.
But I'm asking, would you like to see that in the bylaws so that at least it alerts you
I
that?
think it's consistency and it's simplification, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm looking to the bylaws to say, what do I need to do? Boom, okay, if it's a structure, it's this, if it's stabilization, and it's referencing the same thing, go to this,
Yeah.
go to this, and it's it's one-stop shopping for me, if I'm a resident, I'm like, oh, look, they have everything, if I wanna know about a structure, click on this link, oh,
Right.
it's the same link for this, and it's just, where I think we have to be careful in the bylaws is if there is something with the town that is different than the state regulations, then we would need a little bit more meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Right? But if it's the same, you got a link,
Yeah.
boom, just make it
Andy,
simple.
what's the thinking about decking? But
Uh,
that's not regulated by the SBA specifically.
if it's, not a pervious structure, yeah.
That's where there's a gap.
Yeah, you're right, and this goes back to, we used to have a 75-foot setback to the
Yeah.
lake,
Mhm.
and now we reference the Shoreland Protection Act.
Yeah, yeah.
Personally, I think that was a mistake. I
Yeah.
think we should put a specific setback, and in my opinion, it should be 100 feet, not
Mhm.
75 feet.
Consistent with.
That's what I'm gonna recommend to the planning, but what's that? Oh, there you go,
What is NWL?
mean water level, yeah. Yeah, I think,
What's 25 feet?
Yeah, what's it?
I don't know what the 25 feet is.
This is the Shoreland Subcommittee, and they don't know what the 25-foot zone is.
I don't know what the 25.
No, I just know the 100-foot zone is defined by the Shoreline Protection Act. What's the
There's also a
25?
25-foot zone, which is virtually you can't do anything.
Oh,
So
I
the
thought- well-
Shoreline Protection Act explicitly, there's a 25-foot zone, and it's like, you can't do anything.
I thought
25
that
to
was 100 feet.
25 to 100, then there's,
You'd have to prove that to me.
I will.
When we get
I'll-
together,
I
I
can,
didn't think there was any differentiation between the first 100 feet.
yeah, I can
But
absolutely.
Andy,
correct.
there's also a really important distinction here, which gets really like easily lost,
Yeah.
right? Which is the 100-foot setback is only for new construction,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
Yeah,
And so,
if it's 100 foot or if it goes back to 75 foot, yeah, that's for new construction.
but that means the 100-foot setback. Like, for example, if we had a 100-foot setback, right, and we have a non-conforming property,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Once we have the 100-foot setback, then if something wants to get built in that area, then that has to go to the DRB.
Within that 100 feet.
Yeah,
Well, it would also have to go to the state if you were putting in a
but the
impervious
state is
surface.
permissive.
They're permissive on decks, you're right, if decks are considered
They're
pervious.
permissive on building. I mean, I gave you the example of
Yeah.
my barn, right?
Yeah,
Where the goal is not zoning.
mhm.
The goal is drainage. And so.
It's
if you
protecting the
can-
lake, yeah.
If you can put in appropriate drainage, they let you build.
Well, I think it's more than that. I think there's, you have to do mitigation, best management practices.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they'll give
That
you
you
some
and I are saying
flexibility.
exactly the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But it's more than flexibility.
Yeah.
They're working.
They try to work with people.
Absolutely, that was
Yeah.
my experience.
yeah.
Which is great in the sense that what they're trying to do is maximize, minimize drainage into
Yeah.
the lake. And maximize the opportunity to slow drainage, but that's not zoning,
No, you're right. No, they're two totally different things.
really important
It took
distinction.
a long time to get people to realize they're two different things.
Yeah.
but-
I think most people don't, actually.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think. I was just at a meeting 2 weeks ago where somebody that should have known the difference didn't. But anyway,
I'm just curious, how big was the shed?
My barn?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my barn's big.
it was new.
No, it was a replacement structure.
Oh, okay, well, that's different,
Well, but I was reconfiguring it.
Yeah, yeah.
And.
But were you
I-
increasing the footprint?
I was increasing the footprint and I
By
was
a
taking
lot?
out a tree. No, not by a lot.
Okay, yeah.
No, but like, the whole point was, okay, you need to implement additional management
Yep,
practices. Yeah.
there you go.
So you do like no mow zones or?
Oh,
I
there's a
just
lot
put
of
in
things,
I
yeah.
put in a drip line.
Yeah.
And that was all I needed to do.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, right? I mean, we want to encourage people to be able to develop their
Right.
properties. I'm making the distinction that is not zoning, right? So it doesn't address crowding, it doesn't address open space, it
Well,
doesn't address, right,
Suffice it to say, I will make that recommendation to the
Yeah.
planning commission. I can't predict how it will get voted on,
well, I think you can, but.
Well, maybe.
So I'm just curious, what would the recommendation be?
That we, go back to, a specific setback from the
Specific
shoreline.
Zoning setback.
And it used to be 75 feet. Personally, I would say 100 feet, but
My
think
question
maybe-
though is, it doesn't mean you can't do something, it just means you need a permit within 100 feet, or are you going to?
no, I
prohibit?
mean, you'd have, well, no, you can't get a permit. Unless you go to the DRB
That's
and
the
get a
thing.
waiver.
It would go through a process.
Go through a
review
process, yeah, but the CA would not, have the authority to issue a permit.
Okay, so I wanna try this, great. I'm gonna, my lot's 100 foot wide,
Yep,
from the 100 foot
You're
to
one of
water. I'm
several
putting a-
hundred people
I'm
in
putting a
town with
deck.
100 foot wide.
I'm putting I wanna deck the whole thing.
Yeah, you can deck the whole thing.
And DEC is gonna be like, as long as you have the right gaps and you have the right this
Okay.
and the right that, go
Yeah.
for it. DRB,
Well, this is why we need zoning.
Yeah,
well, you got 100 foot setback,
well, then,
And Andy-
no, then you can't do it.
100 foot setback.
We don't care, yeah, our structures don't care whether they're pervious or not. If we put that setback in, you wouldn't be able to build any structure within 100 feet.
Okay, no, that's where I'm trying to get to.
yeah.
Is even if you went to the DRB.
Right,
And gave
So
you.
No, the DRB does have the capacity to make.
they can, yeah, they have the authority to
Yeah,
issue
there's
a waiver
specific-
or a
there's specific
variance.
Criteria
Yeah,
around.
So that's
What you
where
use.
I'm going is,
Yeah.
so what, give me some criteria that would allow me to do that.
Well, if it's non-conforming, like say they're putting a deck on, and you'd take an average between the other non-conforming lots, especially for old builds. And make sure that it's, if I remember right, not more non-conforming than the average. Of the ones on each side. So it does create some restrictions because you can't encroach any more than what your neighbor is, basically. So it keeps this, standard.
See, so that's interesting because I was in a DRB review. And they tried to reference my property and, I can't remember her name, who used to be the chair.
Christine.
Christine said, no, we no longer, we never did reference other properties. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, this is interesting to me because does the DRB have it's kind of like a judgment call, but my question is, does the DRB have a shoreline conscious?
Well, that's a broader question about the consciousness of the DRB.
No, you understand the question though. It's a valid
I
question.
completely understand the question, right? And, I think, part of the review that I've been doing is trying to help create greater standardization, right? Part of the challenge that you have is that you've got a group of volunteers who are not experts in land use, who are volunteering to do this, and you have variability over time. And so to the degree that you can lock and load either in the DRB policies or in the bylaws, then we have a better chance at fairness. Because you have the more guidance that you give to this group of volunteers to help them make better decisions, the better off they're gonna be. Right, because as a quasi judicial, entity, they're relying on the bylaws. They're looking at the
Yeah.
bylaws and saying, what do the bylaws say? Because that's what we have to do. And so when the bylaws are unclear, or when not even in, when there's room for interpretation, that's when you get variability.
Right.
And so what we're trying to do is identify those moments
Yeah.
of variability and then make recommendations back to the PC to say, hey, this is unclear,
But
right? Like we could use.
the other thing to make clear, the DRB does have the authority to issue variances in a case-by-case basis to our
So
regulations.
section 6.2
Also depends on the board.
is the.
The first 7 years, we didn't
Is the
issue one waiver or
requirements.
variance or.
Yeah,
I don't know.
oh, yeah. I think they're still pretty strict on it. Yeah. I think that in general, the DRB has been very strict about issuing variance, or not issuing variances.
Because of this question of fairness and consistency.
Right.
Like, how do you?
Yeah.
How do you?
My only point is they do have the authority to issue variances.
Yeah.
But it's a nice stopgap.
Yeah,
Exactly, which is why it's needed, and I would also argue that there needs to be some recommendations around decks.
Well,
decking.
if, and maybe that's the case, but to me, if we put that setback at 75 feet or even 100 feet, it kind of takes care of that issue.
Well, except when a variance comes.
Cause then
Well,
what's gonna happen is the DRB,
Right?
somebody's gonna
Like,
come to the
someone's gonna
DRB.
come, right?
Well, they're gonna,
So if we want to, if we want to allow certain sizes of decks, then
Yeah.
we should say so.
well,
So
but
DEC will allow 100 square feet.
DEC, you can deck your whole yard right up to the
No,
water.
no, no.
of impervious
DEC will-
surface.
Yeah.
DEC will allow you an impervious shed,
Yeah,
whatever.
impervious.
Yeah, 100
Yeah,
square
100
feet
square feet.
within the first 100 feet of the
Yeah.
shoreline, right? But we're talking about a deck where you leave a gap between the boards, and so it's not impervious as far as the state's concerned.
I mean, I'll give you, there is somewhat of an exception. You need to get, and I don't know what this involves, a jurisdictional waiver.
Yeah,
If you're gonna build a deck within that 100 feet, you need a jurisdictional waiver that says, yeah, the boards are the right
Right.
spacing, the ground has the right structure, there's like 5 or 6 elements.
yeah.
You mean that the DEC reviews and
Yeah.
says you're approved with these conditions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had this conversation directly with Misha, and he was like, you could deck your entire yard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see that, we had not considered that.
Yeah.
It's
when
not
we
that
made that
easy,
change,
but yes, you can.
We were just, at least personally, I was just envisioning a deck as being an impervious surface, so
Yeah.
obviously you can't build it.
Right.
But I know better now.
So, but when you recommend this, and if it were to be put back in, anything within 100 feet of mean water line. This would be considered a structure, whether it's a pervious deck, or impervious deck, or whatever.
Right, yeah, as far as
And
we're
then-
concerned, it's a
Then it's
structure.
a bylaw,
Got
and
nothing to
then,
do with,
then if they're extenuating circumstances, they go to the DRB.
What's the 25?
I'm not sure it's there, but I'll definitely, I'm beyond confident I've seen it.
okay, I'm beyond confident that I haven't, so there you go.
I'm not. familiar.
But go ahead, you'll be wrong, that's fine.
I'm looking at the shoreline protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing, the 25 foot is, if you're looking at, removing trees. You divide the lot up into 25 foot squares and you gotta get so many points for each square. That's the only 25 feet I remember,
This is,
but.
It's there. No, I'm beyond confident there's a 25 foot zone. I just need to find it. Oh, here we go. There you go. Does your project involve the creation of up to 100 square feet of new cleared area or impervious surface such that a shed gazebo between 25 and 100 feet from mean water line? There is an implication somewhere in
Okay,
here.
yeah.
There is an implication somewhere here that you can't do anything below 25.
Well, maybe that's the case, but.
Anyway, but I'll find more language.
Yeah,
for you.
that's fine.
All right, let's go back. So. Like, Andy, will you bring the language that you're proposing on the 100 foot setback?
Yeah,
for the next
well,
one?
it's simple.
yeah.
Where it's, yeah, just changing,
Let me
in
show you.
accordance with the FPA to 70, back to 75
Fine.
feet or 100 feet, whatever. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's easy. Yeah, I like 100. Yeah.
Well, then it's consistent.
Yeah,
with-
exactly.
Too many numbers, that
Exactly.
makes it really
And-
complicated.
And when we were thinking, when we referenced the SPA, in effect, we were saying 100 feet. But we didn't realize the loopholes.
Mhm.
And I know in your table, you put SPA
Yeah,
instead of 100 feet.
yeah. Again, if
That would-
you would probably agree with changing that back, right, David? So there's two out of,
Okay.
two of us.
That one goes a long way
Yeah.
to helping shoreline.
Yep.
The 100 feet zone.
I think it goes a long way with the DRB too, because the thing to keep in mind is the DRB is the one entity that can get this town sued with a bad decision. And cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
I've been there a couple times.
Yeah, but we definitely don't wanna get into that. Would you like to come to the next planning commission meeting and talk about that? I already talked to Mike Curtis, it's gonna be on the agenda
Yeah.
next week.
Wednesday, no, Tuesday.
Tuesday next week.
Talk about the setback.
Specifically about, yeah, I mean, we've got several items, but specifically I asked them to put that one on.
So this is cool. These two pretty much take care of each other.
Yep.
And the reason for me it came up is Misha in this big meeting, and it was and I'm surprised the DEC staffer said this, they're like, what don't you like about the Shoreland Protection Act? And for Misha to get up and say it doesn't address lake encroachment of pervious surfaces.
Mhm.
Cause you can put up a deck, but you want trees.
Yeah.
If you could have one bylaw that would save the shore is you must have 80% tree coverage within 100
Yeah.
feet of the shore. You don't need anything else.
Mhm. Yeah.
You don't need anything else. All of a sudden the lake would get clean.
All right.
So
I'm
where are
sure-
we at, Tom? So.
No, we're good. We're click away here. I put on here, you and I are gonna get together on A.
Yeah,
You're gonna consider adding lake access structure topic and reference.
A reference,
SPA,
yeah.
USACA, wetlands, special flood
well,
hazard.
you and I are going, as we go through the bylaws,
Yeah.
you and I will come up with the language
Yeah.
for that if we decide it's appropriate.
And then the 25 foot is taken care of in C and D. You wanna recommend a 100 foot setback.
So. So you and I will get together, we'll make some recommendations, and we will present those recommendations at the next Shoreland committee. Once this committee approves it, then we'll present it to the planning commission.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
plan. So it'd probably be December when it gets presented to the planning commission, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think we're actually cranking through this. And
Yeah,
we just
no,
need to
yeah,
get some meat to it.
yeah.
These two are taken care of. Emphasize shoreline best management, natural, you do this. I'm confident I've seen.
Oh, yeah, but again, we could maybe do a better job. That's fine, we'll figure it out.
Here's when I'm,
Yeah.
and I would at least like to ask Carl,
Yeah,
because he's a contractor,
he is, yeah,
what his view
yeah.
on, if we went to a contractor. I'm saying, cause I know you'll never get in the bylaws that your contractors must be shoreland certified.
No,
But it'll never go through. But can you emphasize it?
Yeah.
Can you suggest it?
yeah. Yeah, that's a good question for Carl. I will say that, in my involvement, all the contractors I've dealt with have been very aware of not only our regulations, but the state requirements. But it doesn't mean to say somebody won't
Right.
find a contractor from wherever and just come in and start doing something that they shouldn't be.
So here's the stopgap. And when I was in the PC meeting and they're talking about complaints and da. And I agree with this. At the end of the day, the certificate of compliance when you sell your house is kind of the catch-all.
Hmm.
Right? If you've done a whole bunch of stuff
Mhm.
with or without permits,
Yep.
the COC, basically catches you.
Assuming that the buyer is going to finance the house. I mean, it's the bank that asks for it. If somebody's gonna come in and just pay cash for a house,
See, so that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
So now along with that. The sellers of my house had to sign a shoreland protection certificate.
really?
You told me about that. You said that you can.
I've sent
find
it to everybody. I sent mine to
Yeah,
everybody and
but who
You said you
required that? Cause I've bought 2 shoreline properties and never had to sign it. And I
Interesting.
sold one and never had to issue a.
and Misha brought it up.
Huh.
And maybe
said-
it's new.
You said it's online. You can track it.
No. I found, I was looking through my folder. I'm like, what is this? And it's a shoreline, it basically states that I as the seller have not added any impervious surface, any
Okay.
structures,
Really?
Here's where I'm going with this.
Hmm.
You're actually doing a service to the residents
Sure.
and well, let me go one more step. Misha made it very clear. You sell a house, as is, free and clear. Andy, I'm picking on you. If you did a shoreland thing
Yeah.
and didn't report it, didn't get a permit
Right.
for it, and you signed your shoreland certificate when you sold the house
Yeah.
that I didn't do anything, and then DEC finds out that you did,
Yeah,
they're coming back at you, not the owner.
yeah, well, sure, that's where they should go.
Mhm.
If I was guilty, yeah.
And you said you found it in your file, you mean like downstairs? Like in the.
Well,
file?
Corinne has it, but
Yeah.
you can go online and find all that stuff. And I
Yeah,
know
where
I
would
found
you
it
go
in
online?
my folder. But think about,
Where would
That
you
must be
go
pretty
online?
new, yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I honestly couldn't tell. I found it in my folder under the town site. Oh, no, right, no. On the town site, when you can go in and look at zoning records for your own property.
Okay,
There
oh,
was it was stated like a compliance certificate. I was like, what is this? And it was a shoreland.
I'd be, yeah,
I'll send it to, I've sent
Yeah.
it to everybody like 2 or 3 times.
And it's on the town website?
No, it's within my folder on the town website.
yeah, I don't think the town has anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a state form, it sounds like it's a state form, right?
So I guess the point is people get angry and mad and just, but you're actually doing them a favor.
But you know, that, now that you mention, if that's indeed a requirement by the state, part of our process for issuing a certificate of compliance is that the owner has provided this form. Even though it's not a town form, we could have a box you check off on the certificate of compliance that, yes, it's a shoreline property and the owner is certified, previous owner is certified.
I'll
that-
send it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
got
that's-
it. I'll send it.
had no idea of that,
See, when did you buy your property?
2016.
See, I bought mine in 2019 and I got it.
I'm gonna
You
check.
just-
I just bought one in
Yeah.
2024, so
you
I'm
don't
like,
even-
I'm thinking like, do I have that?
You
Like,
know, but you know, at closing.
Yeah.
You got your pen.
Well, yeah,
signed.
you signed
Signed.
150
Signed.
pieces of
Signed.
paper, right?
so,
Fine.
but I put it
Fine.
down to go look and
Fine.
I'm like, do
Yeah,
I
that'd be
have
interesting, yeah.
this? Cause like, it sounds familiar, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Okay,
Is
Great.
this where you were?
yeah, but it's gonna take me 10 minutes to get there. I promise I will send it to everybody. I
Okay.
sent it to everybody twice. But
Did you
I'll send
really?
it again.
No, I wanna know where it is.
If you go to zoning records
Yeah.
and you maybe your property wouldn't have it. It's gotta, I'm pretty sure it's a new thing.
Uh-huh.
And there's a thing in there.
Hmm. Well.
Okay. I think we're at our time limit, but I
Yep.
think we have a good action item.
Yep.
Um,
Do you wanna try to set a time now to get together, Tom, or? do you-
no, Andy, I'm so
Okay, well, just,
busy right now.
that's fine. Just sometime between now and the next,
Yeah.
we got a month, right?
I promise it'll be not next week, but the following week.
Fine.
I'm in Mass starting tomorrow and then I go back to Mass the following week.
Great,
It's all good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we got I'm actually pretty happy about this. We got a really big grant from the Department of Energy
Mhm.
to take one of the product lines that I work on and convert it to hydrogen and ultra efficiency and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm actually, that's all on the air side, not the water side. I'm
Yeah.
actually pretty excited about
Good.
that. Good. Let's leave it there. There's still a lot here. I think it was good discussion. I
Yeah,
think we
well-
gotta put some meat on it.
and yeah, you and I will come up with something for everyone to look at next meeting, so.
Did you send this out
Absolutely.
Yeah,
for this meeting?
yeah, yeah, where you been?
Did anybody make a motion yet?
Well, are you ready?
Are we ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And this time.
Right?
That was a
Dinner
fun
time.
meeting.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a fun meeting. I actually think that's how
Learn so
most of the
much
meetings should have
Every
been.
time I come to these meetings, I'm like, just sitting here going.
Well,
wow,
we're
this-
obviously learning things as we go too.
I gotta, my goal is to go find the 20, it's everywhere, 25 feet.
Yeah, okay.
And he doesn't believe me.
I'll trust you.
I saw it in the freezer. Now.
All right,
Interesting stuff.
Oh, I should end this.
Oh.
oh, yeah.
But